Kenny Lowe here, bringing you another episode of The Rant Entertainment. I hope you guys are all doing well, and I am very excited to be hosting one more installment of this show. Today is the start of our themed podcasts, and because it is October and Halloween time, the theme for this month is horror. That means that during each of the shows for the next few weeks, we'll be ranting about something horror related. This time around, I will be reviewing The Nightmare on Elm Street. Now, why this particular movie? And what gives me the authority to review movies in the first place? Well, I just really love watching movies. I like watching a lot of different kinds of movies from different genres and different directors. And I think that film isn't just there for entertainment, it's also there to kind of demonstrate the current and social and political issues that were present during the time that a particular movie was created. And I have a film degree that I don't use, so why not use it now? A Nightmare on Elm Street was directed by Wes Craven and released in 1984. It stars Heather Langenkamp as Nancy and Robert Englund as Freddy Krueger. This is also the very first movie appearance for a somewhat known actor named Johnny Depp, in case you were wondering. Now, this film was produced for $1.8 million, which would classify it in the low-budget movie category. It was almost not made because of funding issues just a few days before production started. But a few credit card swipes fixed that right up, and $25 million later, we fell in love with Freddy Krueger. This movie made back its $1.8 million production budget in the first night, and during its runtime it made $25 million, which at the time was a lot of money, and it classified this movie as a very big success. It's also interesting, I think, that Langenkamp, one of the Scream Queens of the 80s, and if you don't know what that means, it's a term used for actresses that become very popular through being cast in horror films. Jamie Lee Curtis, Neve Campbell, Mary Elizabeth Winstead, Katharine Isabelle, and even Sarah Michelle Gellar have all been recognized as Scream Queens. Anyway, Heather Langenkamp has gone on to work on special effects, and with her husband, who co-owns the special effects company that she's a part of, she has worked on the special effects for American Horror Story and Scream Queens. So I think that that's pretty cool. And she's helping the next generation of Scream Queens kind of get their start and become a lot popular through these shows as well. So A Nightmare on Elm Street is about a group of teenagers that begins having nightmares that turn out to be deadly. Once the first victim pops up, it is up to Nancy and her friends to find out what's happening without ever going to sleep again. Or if they do go to sleep, without getting killed in their dreams or in their nightmares. One thing that I really liked about this movie, after I got past my fears of watching horror movies and of going back to sleep when I was 10 years old and I saw this movie for the first time, was that you feel fear and you feel this malignant presence is there without even seeing him on screen throughout most of the movie. I think that Freddy is only on screen probably about 10 minutes tops, but he's there, and just some of the ambience that this movie creates proves to you that this guy, this monster, could pop up at any time and cut you open. Also, I really liked the character of Nancy. Yeah, she starts off a little naive at the beginning, but eventually she learns the truth about why her and her friends are being targeted specifically, and she becomes a heroine and comes out victorious. There's also a really cool scene in which Freddy's on fire and he's chasing Nancy up the stairs of her house. Now, word on the street is that this was the most elaborate fire stunt up until that time, and it was done in only one take, so I thought that was a pretty interesting thing, and I personally liked that scene. I think it has that cheesiness factor that you see in a lot of slasher films, but it's also very scary that a guy on fire would still go as far as to chase you around the house instead of worrying about putting himself out. Of course, this isn't a perfect movie, and while I do find it entertaining, I admit that the characters, especially Nancy's friends, are typical of what you would find in most horror slasher movies. They're all dumb teenagers too distracted with their physical needs to realize what's going on until the final girl realizes everything and she saves the day. Also, the final scenes in the movie seemed a little too rushed. Maybe the setup cut too much into the running time to allow for a more fleshed out resolution, or the budget prevented the use of more effects, but the point is that some of the endings, some of the resolution seems a little bit too rushed, like put together too quickly. But overall, I think Nightmare on Elm Street is a really good horror movie, and it's very entertaining. It's very entertaining, not just because it's bloody and cheesy, but because it mixes typical horror elements like jump scares and creepy music with the supernatural. And it plays with the idea that anything that we're watching on screen could potentially be someone's nightmare. And because Krueger is such a popular costume on Halloween, I'm sure many of you guys will hear that Freddy is coming for you. To ask for candy, of course. So once again, thank you for tuning in. If you have any shows or topics you want us to cover, feel free to let us know on Twitter at TheRant20. Follow us on Facebook, facebook.com/rantentertainment. There are also tons of articles and rants on our website, rantentertainment.wixsite.com/therant. And until next time.